is so much fun.
In the skies, they're cruising fast. Truths are buried in the past. Lights are blinking through the night. Secrets hidden out of sight. Stars reflecting coded blinks. Messengers from distant links. Whispers travel through the air. Signs of life beyond despair. Let the veil no more disguise. We'll uncover all their lies. Truth embargo meets your end. On this journey you will transcend. Mysteries in cosmic dust. Unveil secrets we can trust. Hidden realms in shadow play. Night gets brighter every day. Voices from the great unknown. Echoes of a world they've shown. Across galaxies they roam. We're not in this fight alone. Lift the veil, no more disguise. We'll uncover all their lies. Truth embargo meets your end. On this journey we'll transcend. Mysteries and cosmic dust. Unveil secrets we can trust. Truth embargo meets your end. On this journey we'll transcend. Take the journey, come on, let's go. Oh yeah, where the stars and secrets glow. Subnation X radios glow. In the night we'll ride the show into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh yeah. Come with us and let it go, go. Night sky whispers in the dark. Secret trails will leave a mark. Follow close, ignite that spark. We're on a ride, it's just the start. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh yeah. Come with us and let it go, go. Feel the rhythm, feel the night. Every heartbeat, pure delight. So mysteries come to light. Hold on tight, it's out of sight. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh yeah. Come with us and let it go, go. sight. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, own. Come with us and let it go, go. Silence of space, we drift and we roam, finding our place in the vastness we call home. With courage and wonder, we reach for the light, guided by vision. Unraveling the mysteries, secrets in the night. We travel through the cosmos, ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, casting shadows aside, in the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the submission, next quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright.
From the combination X quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright. SNX radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this roller we will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand. In this dance of truth, let the story expand.
Hi.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the Saturday night. Some random conversation with Polly and Preston and Coley. It's birthday party beat bash weekend. Can't wait to see what kind of what we're going to talk about tonight, guys.
Hello, everybody. This is Coley, and I'm here with our two very special guests, as you guys know, Dolly and Preston, and they did just recently have birthdays. Preston was on the 6th, and Dolly was on the 8th, and I was on the 7th. So I always love, every time I remember my birthday, now I remember the two of them. But let's get into this. Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986, where he discovered that his family, friends, and coworkers.
No.
A lot of things you experienced, Dennis. And then you're Preston, and you've written many, many books. Coley should be right back momentarily. I got to learn how to use this StreamYard so we can do. We shouldn't have two hands on this screen, though, should we?
That's okay. Y'all get it right. Don't worry.
It is like glitching. So I apologize to everybody. I'm going to try and stay back as much as I can because I can't figure that. It's in all the time I've had StreamYard. It has never done this before. So please bear with us. I don't know if something changed, but I'm trying to introduce you here to Preston. And I'm sure most of you already know. I mean, he is part of MUFON. He's written 32 books and or is it 33 now? I know he has one that just recently came out again. He just set up a hotline, which I think I want to get into too, so that number can get out there. But he's like, that's bravery right there, for people to report. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about it because I don't want to quote it wrong. But anyway, he's appeared in numerous magazines, including Fate, Atlantis Rising, MUFON, UFO Journal, Nexus, Paranormal magazines. I mean, he's really gone above and beyond. He's been on Coast to Coast with Art Bell. I mean, please, that's amazing. And then we got the lovely Dolly Safran, and she is a fully conscious experiencer of ET. So fully conscious, that is a big thing. Huge. That is huge. Anyway, Dolly has had numerous encounters, including being taken to other planets, learning various subjects, and even piloting a UFO. She met multiple ET types that were informed that Earth is on the verge of a significant change. Her Dolly's mission as a part of the Greys is to assist humanity in surviving these.
Coley's buffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're showing you Rodney is taking most of the screen. You know the little things on the bottom? If you just press around with them,
The two
bottom of
heads.
the screen,
Mhm.
it should give you all different choices of how you want to put the gallery view. You can just press them at random and it'll.
Can you do it again on another one? Find the one with two heads.
That should give you a better layout than we have now.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love your face, but
There you go.
there we go.
Leave it there.
All right, yeah, Coley's definitely having some.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit back so I don't wreck this because it's definitely right on my side. So I'm gonna let Rodney jump in here, and I really appreciate it. Everyone, just bear with us. I will have this figured out. But sometimes when they make changes, I know this happened a little bit, but not just this bad. So before I had exit out or it kicks me out again, I'm just gonna hand this over, and I will be here hopefully as much as it lets me. So without further ado.
Well, I'm not sure which direction to go in. I see a lot of similarities between, a lot of us people that are creating content. And I think the hardest thing for me to handle when dealing with all these experiencers with the support group, I tried having a hotline like you're putting up there, Preston. You're brave doing that. I attempted that once with a website I had. But everybody's experiences are so different, and they all think that their experience can define the whole phenomena. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've come to realize that there's certainly a prominent pattern to whatever a person is experiencing, whether it's ghosts or a near-death experience or astral travel or ET contact. It does follow a pretty set pattern, but each person is unique, and there are almost always unique elements to a person's experience. I would say probably though 80%, even up to 90% is stuff I've heard before. I'm rarely surprised at this point, but still, there's usually something I haven't heard before in every single person's, particularly an onboard experience. It can be a very minute detail, an ET instrument or the way they're dressed or something, or an event of some kind, or what the ETs might say. How
they just show up, even, either with a craft or they just pop in on it sometimes.
Yeah, but it's amazing how consistent a lot of these details are. That's what I loved about, connecting with Dolly, because most people I've talked to don't have that kind of recall. So there's been a couple, but honestly not as extensive as Dolly. And I thought it might be fun to talk a little bit about, the book we're now working on right now.
Is that a joint book together?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Symmetry, a true UFO adventure. That's the first one with me in it, describing how this all came about for me. And then Symmetry, the second Symmetry book we're working on right now, and it's going to go into more depth. I'm going to give more information about ETs, the crafts themselves, the things that go on. I'm going to do more sciencey stuff in it, things like that, work on terminology and all things related to what they think and how they view us, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we've got a really cool and unique title that has never been used on Earth.
Ever. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
in modern times, at least.
And it's a lost word, actually.
And we're keeping it secret for now until the book is close to launching, but
yeah,
it's a really cool title. And yeah, I'm excited about this one because the first one was largely just the sort of a narrative of Dolly's adventures, really more than a lot of knowledge, but we're going to go deeper into detail in some of her more unusual experiences. For example, this might be fun to talk about, Dolly, because I was just transcribing this part, and we haven't talked about this at all. You know, we've given little sneak previews here and there on a few shows, but I'm now transcribing this whole interview what I did with you, Dolly, about how they took you physically into the fourth dimension.
Oh yeah.
And this is a good example of something I haven't heard before, and I was absolutely surprised.
Yeah.
And it's a long, complicated thing, but yeah, we can definitely give a little. I think it would be fun to give a little preview of that. What do you think, Dolly?
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll take you back. The first time it happened to me when I didn't realize what was going on. I was about 5 years old, and they took me back into the fourth dimension with them and brought me in a time past. When you're in the third dimension, you can't go back in time. It'll kill you. Human bodies, there's nothing back there for us to go to. Extra dimensionally, you can see all time at one time. Okay. And it begins in the fourth dimension being able to do that. When you do that, you can't interact. You can be there, they can see you, but touching anything or interacting that way causes problems for you and the people around you. And they spent a day at least briefing me, teaching me what I was going to do and not do. I knew that when I got there, I would be speaking Swedish. I did not realize I was going to go to Sweden. And I didn't realize what year it was. I'm 5 years old. Who knew, right? And I got there. It kind of, Sweden's weird. Sweden looks like Georgia and Florida in some places. It's the same topography, types, mountains, forests, thick forests, seascapes, stuff like that. And we went to a place that looked like being out in the country in mid-Florida, okay? And when we got there, I was told that I was going to be wearing something, and they helped me get dressed, and I had a little hat on and everything, and I wasn't to touch anything. I was barely touching the ground. When you're extra dimensional, your gravity is different from everybody else's. Fourth dimensional beings in the third dimension hanging out are not physically being affected by gravity the way you are in the third dimension. So I was a little bit off the ground to begin with, and I was a little weirdly unsteady about it. I was afraid to trip or walk through something, because you can walk through things when you're that way. And they warned me about it.
Did you look solid? Do you suppose?
Yeah, I looked solid to everybody. I appeared solid to them, but I was not. And there was a beautiful picnic table, and there were lots of children there. And the table that I went to, I was told that I'm related to these girls, that they're my ancestors. I'm related, literally related. And I realized immediately everybody's speaking Swedish, so I joined in, and I found an opening on the bench of the picnic table, and I refused to put my feet on the ground. I put my feet up underneath me and sat on my legs, okay? And I was just sitting there very happily, just watching everybody. And there was singing, there was playing, they did games, they did all kinds of things, but I refused to leave that spot. water was put down in front of me, and I was terrified to even pick the water up and try to drink it. And I thought about it for a few minutes. And when I put my hand on the cup, I realized there was no way I was picking that cup up. No way. Okay. So I just left it alone. And they were very, very nice to me. And I don't know how they interpreted me being there, who I was, anything, but they treated me like family. I was there for at least 3 or 4 hours through this. At one point, the father was drawing everybody's pictures, and he picked us out and drew us. And then we went back to sit down. Well, everybody had gone before me pretty much, and I was pretty much the one sitting there. So he drew me sitting at the picnic table. And when it was over, I was supposed to go and be with everybody else, but they snatched me at that point and pulled me out. I remember it. I still have the hat. That was the one thing that they let me keep. I have the hat. You fold it up. It's like a kerchief. Okay. Years and years go by. This is in my memory. I remember it almost like it's a dream. And I'm a teenager, and my great grandmother was looking at something from Sweden. There's a company in America that sells Swedish things directly from Sweden, and she had the catalog. And she was looking at the catalog, and she saw something by Carl Larsson in there, which is her favorite artist. And I realized at that age that we're related to him. And she's staring at this picture, and she says, "Come here." And I said, "Okay." And I came there, and she pointed to the picture, and she said, "That's you. I know you. That's you." And when I looked at it, it was like, "Oh, wow. Yeah." And she said, "How is that possible? This is 1907. And I was like, "I don't know." And she looked me in the eye, and she said, "How is that possible?" And I said, farmor, it was how you say great grandmother in Swedish. She's my father's grandmother. She's farmor to me. Okay. And I said, "No clue." And I said, "It's amazing. I look like her, don't I?" And she said, "No, that's you. I know you. I know you." And I walked away from that thinking, oh my God. I was beginning training with ET to learn how to fly at that point. And I wasn't sitting flying yet, but I was doing training. And one of the things that they had us do was going in and out of phase, out of dimensional phase. Okay. And they decided, since I figured that out, that I had already done it as a kid and had a memory of it, that they were going to up that part of my training. And the first time they took me out, we were on board. We were going to do a light gate jump, which is where they open a dimensional light gate for the entire craft to go through the fourth dimension. And they fold, like the idea of folding space, but they don't. It's it's a light process, and you just can climb through the universe and go anywhere you want to go. I
got a picture of the painting. I can't put it up, but it's there below if you want to click on it, Rodney. Do you see the little things below? There's a picture painting. You click on it and say add to screen. It'll show. Well,
oh, he knocked himself out. Oh no! Come back, Rodney. Come back.
I'm sorry.
You clicked on the wrong one, Rodney. Click yourself back in. Add. Oh, add.
Well, it's worth a try. Yeah, you clicked yourself out, Rodney. That was my fault. Sorry, Dolly.
There he is. No, okay.
It wasn't that button.
No. Don't worry about it. I'll bring it up on my phone and hold it up. How's that?
I'll get more familiar with this, guys. I've been running just audio only on another app for 5 years before I met COLEY, so this is all like brand new to me at kindergarten level. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Y'all are learning. It took us a good minute to learn StreamYard ourselves. I totally am, I sympathize with you 100% about this. Just let me pull the picture up. Anyway, let's see if I can find it. Shoot.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about that painting is it was actually done in, I got this
1907.
1907?
1907.
Yeah.
07, yeah.
Yeah, 1907, which of course Dolly wasn't born at that time. And what's funny about it to me is her grandmother was the one who recognized her in this painting.
Okay.
Wow.
This is the picture, and that's me and my brother behind it at the same age. Oop, let me do it like that.
No, that's a portion of the picture.
Yeah, that's a portion of the picture. And that's me.
We could call you a time travel Dolly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well,
it's
in
a
essence,
type of
that's
time
how they
travel,
time
yeah.
travel. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
wasn't able to affect the time. Once time occurs, it's recorded. Okay. And when you're out of this dimension and you're in the fourth dimension, everything is known. And so you can look back and see in that part of time, even though you're past it or not a part of it anymore, you're not connected to it anymore, you can still see it like a recording. And when they bring you into it, funny thing, you can interact with it, it can interact with you. And I've always been curious about, are we alive or not? You know, was I dealing with live people? And I had to be, because he saw me, he painted me, and it came through time. It's very complicated. And I learned how complicated that is as I got older, right? So the first time I went fourth dimensional with them, we didn't just go through the light gate. We held in the gate in the fourth dimension. We didn't move. So that I could physically get my bearings and understand that I was still breathing. I was still able to feel myself. Okay. I was a person, and that I felt my heart. They kept up with my heart rate. They were listening to my brain function. They were listening to everything in my body. They wanted to see if I had any neurological deficits by doing this. I mean, I was totally 100% guided through this, and they were monitoring me the whole way through. I have an implant that's in my upper right thigh for that purpose, expressly for that purpose. Okay. When I'm on board, that implant is connected to them, period. When I'm on this planet, I'm still connected to them. They know I'm alive or dead. They know. Okay.
And the hat you brought back too, that was the time period era hat, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I came forward. We went back to where we belonged in the timeline, and then came back through dimensionally into that slot. We slipped back in. After that, they decided that I was going to learn how to go fifth dimensional. And they waited about a year before that, because I was starting to get on board. I was starting to learn how to fly. And it was critical how I reacted to fifth dimensional spaces. Talata, the ship, the indwelling entity in the ship, is a fifth dimensional being. He's non-corporeal. And in the fifth dimension, most everything is non-corporeal there. The only way I can explain that to you is, all dimensions are on top of one another. Okay. And they can see through to us. They know we're here. Okay. It's just that our eyesight and our brains, our physical minds, are not generating the ability to see through those dimensional spaces, but they can see through to us. They have higher evolution of being for this purpose. Okay. So I was warned that I might have a hard time, and they told me what I would feel, and it's quite complex. And one of the things that I would notice is that I had to practice holding myself together physically while I'm in the fifth dimension, that I had to think about who I was, what I was, and think about my physicality. Okay. And I practiced for a year to do that. Okay. They bring me through. We come into the fifth dimension. Now, Talata's with me. He's going into the fifth dimension with me, and he's in front of me. I finally get to see him for what he really looks like. He shows up, okay? And we're out, he's looking at me, and I see him, and I understand what he is and who he is. And I start to feel myself dissolving, disintegrating.
Well, wait, back up for a second. What did he look like?
Talata is a light being, pure white light, and he has a structure. You could call him, he looks like an angel, and he's got a lot going on in that light structure, but he's cohesive. He has an astral body, or a prana. He's all energy. Okay. But his intelligence is part of what that is. He's structured light. Okay. And wow. You can see eyes on him. You can see him looking at you through those blue eyes of his. Okay.
Was it a humanoid form then?
Kind of humanoid, yeah. People would say that's an angel. I see an angel. Yeah, that's Talata. Okay. Yeah, I start to lose cohesion with myself. In other words, I feel myself dissolving, and I panicked. And he held my hands energetically, and he pushed me back into the fourth dimension. And they gave me a good minute to get a grip on myself before they brought me back into the third. I vowed from that day forward that I was going to light gate, no problem, but I can't do more than 5 or 10 minutes in the fifth dimension. I'll fall apart. And that's the first time I've ever felt, it's not fear, it was panic, because I wasn't ready to end this body, this life. And I panicked because I thought, oh Lord, if this falls apart, what am I going to do? It freaked me out. And so, yeah, they brought me back so that I could stay where I feel like I belong. I know I belong here right now. This is it. Okay. It was tremendous, but it taught me a lesson. When I light gate, I don't dally, poodle doodle, dilly dally, nothing. We create the light gate and my butt's through it. I go, boom. I know all my coordinates. I know my everything. I'm like, ta-da, I'm there. Don't wait. Don't play with it. Nothing. I'm very good at it. I became excellent at it because I just don't ever want to go to that set of circumstances ever again. I asked him, does Mama do this? Do the Grays do this? And he said, yes, they're that evolved. They can go into the fifth dimension. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I asked Mama later when I saw her again, how do you do it? And she said, I have full control over all of my energy. And she said, when I leave now to go, I will take it with me. I will evolve into it. I was like, oh, okay. So there are beings, the tall Grays are all capable of when they leave here. And it made me interested in understanding why they're so interested in when we transition from this life and going toward source again before we come back into another life somewhere else. It's very important to them that we learn that transition and how it happens and to go through the steps of it, because we learn from that. We're supposed to learn how to control that. You know, right now, most human beings leave here under unbelievable circumstances and they're not in control of anything. They just see somebody standing there waiting for them and they don't know that they're responsible for how they walk over. They don't know that they can. They don't know that they have the ability to do that. This is really evolved stuff that we're supposed to know how to do by now. And
this is why a lot of souls are earthbound, right? Because they don't.
Yes.
I mean, they don't have a clue. Some don't even realize they're dead.
Exactly. They don't know. And it's tremendously important that we start focusing on that, especially now. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big problem on this earth plane. And because, I learned this from having out-of-body experiences. And I was reading the books, how if you get good at this, sooner or later, you're going to get sort of inducted into helping people cross over. And I hadn't done it. At least I wasn't aware of it. It turned out I was doing it unconsciously by just kind of taking people by the hand and flying upwards to the, I guess what you would call the other side. But now more recently, I've been doing quite a bit of that, actually. And I'm learning how to, ask each person how they passed away, what their name is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get confirmation. I was able to get that fairly recently when I saw a lady who was absolutely dazed. She did not know what to do.
Was that with EVP, or did you get that mentally when you try to find out their names and stuff?
Well, I would say it's telepathically.
He's been able to go back and check on people, like he'll look them up and oop, there they are,
One lady, she gave me her name. Actually, her friend did, because her friend was with her, and the lady who was having trouble crossing over did not remember her name. And that's not even unusual. This can happen to accident victims. People in a car accident might have temporary amnesia of even their own name.
Right.
And she's like, oh, it's her name is Julie, and gave a very unusual last name. Like, I have to remember this, because this is when I can look up, because often it'll be just some John Smith or something. But I looked her up, and yeah, she had died a few months ago, looked like her. It was the same name.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. This is the first time I got real confirmation that
It's very
I'm
cool.
not completely whacked. And this is actually a real event, which while it's happening, but still getting confirmation is thrilling.
Yeah.
I mean, my point is that Dolly's absolutely correct. People have no idea. And it could be just a little bit of knowledge. The idea of knowing that there's life after death.
One of the
is
things I want to
super
bring this up.
beneficial.
Yeah, I want to bring this up. You're in a physical body that has limitations, okay? You're in the third dimension. It's very gravity heavy. All your protons are so dense you can't see through it or see the light that you're producing. People who see auras see a lot of it, but they still don't see through interdimensionally, okay? You have ability up here that can control that or open it up for you and show it to you. Your physical eye isn't going to see extra dimensionally, but your consciousness, your third eye, using your pineal gland can, okay? But I want you to understand that the body that you're in right now, you're indwelling, your consciousness, who you are, is indwelling this body. And it has physical limitations right now, right? One of the things that happens is when this body ceases to function, it releases your consciousness and all the energy of who you are. And you're not going to another place. You're right where you ought to be. You're right in the middle of everything. You see all 12 dimensions. You can see all the way through to source. You're extra dimensional, instantly extra dimensional, and you know who you are. But some people are so confused and they don't understand the process or anything to do with it. They have no belief in it or no knowledge in it because their belief system overrides that knowledge, that they don't see what's really there. And they're confused. They're walking around like, well, I'm still here, but look what I'm looking at, you know? It is not true that you can't see each other on the inside. Everybody sees everybody, okay? Whether you pay attention to it or not is strictly up to your consciousness, what you want to do. I don't know any other way to describe it than that's one of the reasons that ET wants us to use our abilities. They want us to clean up our bodies and get rid of the toxins so that we can wake up. It's important, you know?
Yeah, it's a message a lot of people seem to be getting from these experiences, and
Right.
yeah, just want to make the world a better place. You know, make Earth great again.
I think that's why we incarnate ultimately, is to help others, certainly to gain wisdom and experience. But there was a book by Brian Weiss, I think, Life Between Lives. I think that was the author. And that's what most people said when he kind of hypnotized them to go, to past lives or pre-lives.
I never thought about how much consciousness is involved and how important it is. I spent most of my time just researching cases and looking up experiences. But
You're
you
the
guys
one-
have a
You're the one, you're the one with consciousness. Okay. And it's good to look at everybody else, but you still have to go within before you go without. You're the one that has to teach yourself how to do this because you didn't have somebody already to teach you. And it's good to understand it. But then next step is take a leap off a cliff and give it a shot. It doesn't hurt you to learn how to be psychic. It doesn't hurt you to learn how to OBE. It doesn't hurt you to develop your intuition. Any of that. It doesn't hurt you. And yet people are made to be afraid of it. They're made to be afraid of ghosts. They're made to be, they got horror on their mind and they got the devil on their mind and hell on their mind and all this other stuff. And it sort of stops you from leaping off there and using what you really have innately or born with to use.
Yeah, I heard a guy on a podcast recently saying how dangerous it was to do astral travel. And it just made me cringe because the fact is we are all doing it every night.
Yes.
We're all doing it already. And we're fine. You wake up each morning. And the fact is, if you could remember it, that's the whole trick, is just remembering.
Right.
Keeping a dream journal is a good way to start. But just going to bed and say, tonight I will remember everything that happens to me, is a real good way to start, because it will come back to you. Yeah. And when you wake up in the morning, don't jump out of bed. Maybe just lay there for a little bit and try to remember like 3 things. Where was I? Who was I with? And what was I doing? And if you just lay there and ask those questions, it works.
My dreams are stopped at a certain point. When I first started going public, talking to a lot of people and reaching out to them about the things I experience and believe, it's like the dreams all of a sudden stopped and changed for me.
That's not uncommon. You're talking to somebody that I've heard this about 1 billion times from people. And what I can tell you is you're now facing the fact that it's up to you to start working this properly. Your consciousness has been trying to get a hold of you. Okay. It's been knocking on the door. Okay. Hey. Okay. Now that you understand it and that it exists, your consciousness is now waiting for the contact call from you to yourself. And that means meditate, learn to go into the singularity of self, to oppress any other extraneous thoughts in your physical mind and allow your consciousness to make the call back to you. It's a loop. Okay. That's what that gland is for. It sees light and dark. It also transmits signal, alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta. Okay. Consciousness transmits in those signals. Okay. It is important that now you have to learn to shut up and tell yourself, I'm going to be in communication with myself. I'm going to learn how to hear what I'm thinking, my consciousness, because that's who you really are. You're not just this person who's living this life. You are this entity driving the car that you should have been in contact with all the time. You've been
in the role that we're born. Yeah, what you said earlier, I think, is really the key. It's intention. Intend to do it.
Right.
And search yourself to see if you have any actual fear that might be blocking you. Because if you have subconscious even fear of doing these kinds of things, that was kind of you saying, no, I don't want to do it.
Now you allow your intuition to take over. Have you ever felt like you were walking somewhere and all of a sudden the brakes got put on you? It's like something's stopping you from going forward, and you just feel this incredible, I don't want to go there. And you're asking yourself, why? And then you talk yourself out of it, and what happens? Something bad happens to you. That's your consciousness trying to drag you back and stop you from walking into a situation you got no business walking into. It don't want to go there with you. You're going to get hurt or whatever. Okay. Listen to your consciousness. It's talking to you all the time. Moms tell their children, if it feels bad, don't do it. You feel it in your chest. You feel it in your guts. It's not really in your physical mind. You feel it. It's in your heart where your consciousness is connected to you. Okay. It broadcasts to your pineal gland. All right. So listen to it. Learn to shut up and take that advice. Because that's really you telling you what's up. And it's you. Okay? It is not an extraneous personality. It is you. It's not a split personality. It is you. People say it to me all the time. Every now and then I have this overwhelming urge to do this, or I think this thought and I can't figure out where it's coming from. Sometimes it is somebody programming you to think a certain way, because we live in a world where you take that on every day now. Okay. But most of the time it's you saying, you know what? It feels good. It's right. It's coming from you. Why don't you do this to help yourself? Why don't you go learn this to help yourself? Why don't because the physical mind has to do the learning. That's why we're here. We're here to program ourselves to get the wisdom so that we can employ what we learn here. That's what your physical mind computer is for. Your consciousness is driving the car, but it can't do anything without the programming going complete.
Yeah. You know what you reminded me of, Dolly?
Huh?
Mentalists who can allegedly read your mind.
Yeah.
And stuff like this. Well, there's this guy who, revealing some of the tricks, and he had the 3 or 4 people he was working with wait in a waiting room. And then he brought them in and said, okay, I want you all to draw a flower. And he, of course, drew a flower, and then they all drew it. And it was the exact same flower. Well, it turned out there was a painting in the room.
Yeah.
They were waiting.
Everybody's attention, pre-programming. Yeah.
And they didn't even really realize it. And they all drew it. So this is how we are so easily influenced.
Your physical mind fakes it till it makes it. In other words, whatever you see or perceive physically, mentally, it's already programmed you to adhere or respond in kind. Okay. Like if you burn your finger, you're not going to do that again, are you? And if you see fire, your brain already knows you've done it, already pre-programmed, boom, boom. That's the easiest one to understand. If you're riding your bike and you know that if you keep wobbling around, you're going to slam down to the ground, right? You don't do that anymore. Right? You're programming yourself through action, through employing life itself. And life itself has a way of showing you things. That's what pareidolia is all about. That's why people see things in things so much, because we're automatically made, genetically made to recognize 3 things: faces, anger, and falling. Those are the 3 things. Those are the first 3 things that our physical mind goes to immediately as an infant coming into the world. We recognize the faces. We recognize the harsh or strict voices. We'll shrink back to mom. And then falling, it's a natural instinct. We don't want to go there, and we'll grab for mom and hang on. Those are the first 3 things that we pareidolia. We know. We can actually gauge distance as infants because it's pre-programmed into us. We also know the sound. The next ones are sound. We hear our mother's voice. We hear our father's voice. We hear everybody talking. These are all things that we are programmed with. people are still doing that to you. Everything you listen to on TV, everything you read in the newspaper, every song you hear that's not okay on the radio, okay, and your Wi-Fi are talking to you. And
sometimes it's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
When I would drive to my home on Cheney Drive in Topanga Canyon, there's this one stump. It fooled me every time. I'd always come around the corner. I'm like, oh, there's a person. And then no, of course it's that same. 100 times. Finally, I turned myself like, I'm coming around that corner. That's a stump. It's not a person, and I'd be able to bypass it. But it fooled me 100 times.
Yeah.
Just because it looked so much like a person. And what's weird, there was a few times they come around. I'd swear I saw the shirt, in the pattern and an actual face, because my mind would fill in details that weren't there.
Right.
And that really it was such a good lesson for doing research with people who had thought they saw something and perhaps filled in a little bit of the details.
Yeah.
This is how easy our mind can trick us.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to really train yourself to be a good observer. And it's not as easy to do as you think.
I was considering how many of my memories myself, thinking about the things that have happened, how many I've just recreated, and how many of them are real. It can be a point. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, any police investigator will tell you when there's a car accident and they've got 10 witnesses, they always get a slightly different version of each story.
Right. Yeah. Well, if anybody ever played telephone when they were a kid, they got that. One of the things that struck me is, as an observer, my art teacher, I think all children should take art, and every art teacher on the planet needs to say this one thing first to their students, and that is, draw what you see is there, not what you know is there. Okay. Then when working in the military, becoming a trained observer, the very first thing they try to figure out is, what kind of learner are you? Are you auditory? Are you by sight? Or are you by doing or replicating? Okay. And once they got that on you, once they understand how you're going to learn or see something, they teach you how to see or perceive from those vantage points, because that's what's going into your head faster, what's there. And they run it through you over and over and over again. When you become a nurse and you're learning to triage and you're watching everything about this person and trying to understand what is going on with them when they come in an emergency situation, you pay attention to cues, all the cues, and they all add up. And you're like a scientist. I'm looking at this, and you're adding it all up in your head rapidly. Why don't we teach this to our children while they're in school? Why don't we teach them at home?
Well, this is good training for remote viewing as well.
Very much.
You know what I mean? Here's a really good thing, in terms of how to develop your psychic ability, is when laying down and meditating and just visualizing. And what's funny is I would do this and and suddenly you start to really see it. I mean, like a red rose or a blue sea, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like looking at a movie. But one step that takes it a little bit higher is to visualize just light, white light. And I would do that, and then once I did it so good, I was absolutely convinced, more than once, that someone had come into my room and turned on the light, because it was suddenly flooded with light. I'm like, oh, and I opened my eyes, and nope, I'm in complete darkness. Yeah. They call this the dawning of the clear light. It's a stage you can reach when I don't know, it's a step up, I guess is the way of putting it. But these are little things you can do. Visualization is really helpful when you're developing psychic ability. And for those who might have, sight disability, you can do this with sound as well.
Right.
It's equally effective. Listen to a song or a person's voice.
It's funny you mentioned the light, because that was something that I noticed. Nobody's taught me anything. I've just learned a lot of things on my own. There was, through meditation, I know that light you're talking about. It would feel like it would move around, and then it would get centered. It was like when I knew it was centered is when I knew I had a solid connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, It's very cool. So do we want to reveal some more about Symmetry, Dolly, or the sequel?
Why not? Go ahead. Pick.
Yeah, well, one that just touches me because I did so much research on Schoolyard UFO Encounters, and I keep finding new cases. I put about 100 in my book, Schoolyard UFO Encounters, and I'm going to have to put out a sequel because, I've honestly got about double that now, and one that I would have loved to have included, but I don't think I knew you, Dolly, at that time, is you being with Talata and doing this intentionally. To answer some of my questions, these are intentional events. UFOs are coming over schools, primarily primary schools, elementary schools, and showing themselves to the kids, which is so amazing to me. And yeah, you did it to Avon Park School,
Yeah, Avon
right?
Park
Avon Elementary School.
Illinois, yeah. That's my, the Midwest was our territory, the territory that I was involved with. And it began with, there were 2 children there that were contactees. And the idea was that in part of their involvement with ET is to give them a good glimpse and an opening to other people to talk about it. Because we're not allowed to talk to one another. This is a big thing. ET wants to open up opportunities for everybody to have the conversation. To say, I saw that, you saw it, we were together, we saw it together, hey, you know, or publicly as a movie theater or drive-in. Teachers see it, the kids see it, everything. And so they look for opportunities to go there. And it was a daytime sighting. We pulled in and out in the daytime, which is rare for me to do because I mostly did night flying. And we waited for them to come out to the playground. And this is a beautiful little school, and they have a beautiful little playground in the back and a long field in the back.
Yeah, I looked it up online on Google. I found it.
And they come out, and we know they're out there, both of them. And there's one teacher who's sort of like watching over them. This is a long time ago. And a long time ago. And the kids will look up. They will instinctively look up because we're sending messages. Hey, look up, you know? And they do. They'll look up and they'll start egging one another. What? And they all they'll make a circle. I've never, ever not seen or heard this happening, and people don't talk about it. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but one of the things that happens is these children will circle under where they see the craft. And if the craft's going to come down, they'll try to circle around it as well, unless there's something impeding them, and then they'll do a half moon circle, and they'll just sort of like, you know, stampede in a circle around it. And they did. They formed a beautiful little circle, and they're looking at us. This teacher paid no attention whatsoever. She had a roof line over her head. She didn't even know it was there, but they're all like, and she's not looking at them. Look at us. Okay. One of the things that we do is that we'll swing across the field and swing back. Okay. So that they realize that this is real deal. It's a craft, and we'll give them a 360 look around. We'll spin around as we do it, so they get the full view. Okay. Now fingers are pointing. Hey. And a couple of kids ran for the teacher. Ran. Hey! And she really wasn't paying attention. She heard him, and she started to get up, and Talata said, that's enough. We're going to cause a panic because this area is populated. Okay. It's the daytime, and we were just there for a look, not to drive everybody crazy or cause police to show up. So like, okay, fine. But the 2 that we wanted to see us did, and realized exactly what it was, have seen us before in other circumstances of contact, and the conversation began between them because they didn't know each other at all. Not that way, not as friends. And
Wow.
Yeah, that's important because looking for people, and what's weird about human thought personality is that a lot of times they'll shove it down and discard it, and then come back years later and go, you know, I got to figure this out now. And they start looking for that other person. And it's really, really cool when that happens, because it's like, it's like reunion, you know, like you go to a high school reunion or whatever, you're finding lost friends. And I know there are a couple of people that I know that are still looking and trying to give them, you know, ideas on what you got to do that. And, but that's how confirmation comes. There's no way a single individual is going to explain contact. It's going to take lots of people in communion with one another to explain contact, right? And the schools, that's important to bring us down, because these kids they have no guile. They're not going to lie. They are not afraid, and they're ready for it. They're absolutely ready for it. It's like if they've been waiting whatever little existence they've already had, and they see it, they go, yep, there it is, you know, and they know. And it's good to take that forward because they're not afraid. They're not going to go to the horror show every 2 weeks and try to be afraid of something or tell you they're terrified. They're not. This is cool. You know, this is like going to see Star Trek or going to see Star Wars or whatever. They're like, hey, this is totally cool. Only it's real. It's not fake. It's not imaginary. It's real. And it helps to have witnesses, other people who are with you. And that's why they do it broadly with other people around.
You're revealing themselves to the children at the schools like that. They're just developing a whole bunch of critical thinkers that are gonna change their lives. That's for sure. Make people like all of us right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I think people who don't have witnesses with them absolutely doubt their own eyes.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about these schoolyard encounters is these are generally widely viewed. You know, it's not just one or two kids. It's usually the whole playground and teachers.
20 or 30 at a time. That's right.
But not always. You know, sometimes they will just show themselves to a couple of people on the playground. I've got cases like that as well. One kid, he was the only one. And this was a full playground. He's like, look, and the thing just zipped away. Nobody saw it. And that's gotta mess with your head.
Yeah, I've only heard of 2 cases, the Zimbabwe and Australia, Melbourne cases, but you got access to more databases than I do, so there's hundreds of cases.
It's all over the U.S. and
over 100 cases
in Australia. And I mean, it's all over the world. They don't just pick us, they pick everybody, you know?
Yeah, they're mirror cases sometimes. But boy.
That's okay.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to me because these are almost always daytime sightings, very low level, long lasting. They're putting on a show. It's so obviously intentional. And I don't know how this slipped under the radar for so many years. It shocked me when I found out about this. But yeah, what's interesting to me is over 50% of the cases are elementary schools, which I think I mentioned earlier, but absolutely junior high, high school, and college. One of the most famous cases in Michigan's history is Hillsdale College, where some 88 students and teachers and the police actually saw it. One guy whipped out his gun and his boss, the superior, said, don't do that. Do not shoot at the UFO. Good advice there. I did a whole study on what happens when people shoot at UFOs. Does not end well. So they'll usually just dart away, but there's a few cases where they'll send down a little beam or make you drop the gun even.
It can also ricochet if they got energy up against it. It ricochets against the energy and come back at you. It's like hitting a metal object with a gun. It'll come right back at you, and that happens too.
Yeah, well, we talked about that in Symmetry. Poor guy.
Wasn't there a case where a family's child was abducted and it wasn't returned, and they moved the family onto a military base? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Oh gosh, doesn't ring a bell.
It's an old one. I can't remember where I came across it.
Why did they? Okay, I'm curious now. Why?
To silence them, maybe because the kid didn't come back. They moved the family onto a military base. I've been looking for more information on it myself. I just thought maybe Preston would know more about it.
You know, it doesn't ring a bell. There are cases of people who've been taken and not returned. But I mean, the case I have of that was really interesting, involving this guy. I know his full name. I'll just use his first name, Paul. And I interviewed his friend Tony, this was a whole group of young men, 18, 19 to like 22, who would go out to Palm Springs in California. One of them, their parents owned a cabin, and they would just hang out there for weekends. And they went up there. This was like 1978, thereabout. And Paul wandered off. He's like, I'm going to take a hike. And he didn't come back for the longest time. And they were just about to send out, a search party to look for him. When he comes in, he's like, guys, you're not going to believe it. I came upon this landed UFO. I walked up to it. They were really friendly. They invited me inside. Said there was almost nothing in there, just white walls. They were all wearing jumpsuits. They looked mostly human. Said they were really nice. They said they're studying this area. If you'd like, you can come with us. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. Though he was tempted, he said, because these guys were really advanced and very kind. So this is the story he's telling, and half of the kids there are like, oh, come on, you're just joking. And he's like, no, I'm serious. I'm absolutely serious. Well, Tony knew this guy really well. He knew he wasn't that kind of guy to just, lie or pull a hoax or joke around about something like this. And so he was the one who got all these details out of him. He's like, no, tell me more. And they told him, these ETs told Paul, that we're going to be back next year at this time if you want to come back and meet with us. And long story short, a year rolls around, and a couple of weeks before this date, Paul, he quit his job and he started giving away some of his possessions. And Tony's like, oh my God, are you thinking of going out there and going with him? He's like, well, I don't know. I might. I think I will go out there, but I don't know. And he did. He drove out there and did not come back. He went out there alone, and everyone became concerned when 2 or 3 days passed. And so Tony, the guy I interviewed, and Paul's family and a couple of the other guys went out there, and they found Paul's car with the keys in it. And that's all they ever found. So I can't say for sure Paul went to live with the ETs, but it certainly sounds like it. And I think it was, if he did, voluntary for sure. And I know a few other cases like that. So yeah, I would call that a permanent. I don't like the word abduction because I think it has
carnival cruise.
Yeah. When I had my onboard experience, I would have stayed. If they had asked, would you like to stay? I'd be like, I have family, but they'll be okay. But man, oh man, because it's different when you're up there with them and you realize like, wow, this is the kind of place you could have some real honest to God fun. I mean, it's a different environment. There's no crime, no taxes, no library cards, no DMV, none of the trappings that, almost enslave us here on this planet. So I can totally get why people would go live with them and perhaps not.
It's a pure learning environment. Everything is a learning, You don't just go live with them for nothing. You go because you're expected to learn, to learn all that is learnable. And you'll be taught to go to that, They're never idle. They are never doing nothing for nothing. They are constantly always moving through and learning things. And that's why they are highly, highly evolved.
Yeah. Imagine if we did that as a race, then took away a lot of the entertainment that we're just fed as a child. I mean, it's nothing wrong with being entertained once in a while, but everybody just wants to be entertained until they go to sleep.
Yeah. Funny thing, learning new things is entertaining. And most of us don't think of it that way. We for some reason get the idea that it's a drag. It's not, educating your mind and almost anything, it takes you to new kinds of heights. If you're an adrenaline junkie, let me tell you, there's some stuff out there that'll give you a shock you wouldn't believe. There's adrenaline in there, and then being able to employ that knowledge is tremendously empowering, and there's just a high with that you can't even imagine. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new in the universe. All knowledge is known already. But each of us individually have to come to that. We have to learn how to employ what wisdom we can get from experiencing how to learn and then employing that knowledge, And there's all kinds of areas that applies to. Learning how to take care of one another, how to help one another, how to heal one another, how to teach yourself how to heal yourself, how to experience the universe as it really is, how to see what's really going on and understand what that is with no limits, understand it. We come here to learn things also because we're in the third dimension, and how to understand that our perspective is not the only perspective, okay? Each one of us sees from our own individual place, and autonomy is taught here. When we're all in source together or outside of this dimension, your autonomy is not exactly 100% learned there or understood there. You have to come here to get it. And to do that, you have to learn what that means and employ what that means. Autonomy means that, Buddha is a good example of trying to teach people what this means. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to impede you in any way. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to walk circles around you. I am here to join with you to live life together peacefully, to learn from one another the best way to go about things, and to be there for you when it's needed, and to be there for others too. We have to learn, if they came out with 1 degree of separation or 2 degrees, that was interesting to me that concept showed up, because where you are right now, you in your own place, there are people surrounding you right now who could use your attention, who could use your help, who could use communing with you in love and peace and honoring one another and be joyful about it. And we need to learn how to do that, employ how to do that, instead of listening to idiots talk trash to one another and fight.
Yeah, we need to just recognize our own personal power, because we have absolute unbelievable potential. And I don't know if a lot of people realize that. But I do see some questions in chat that I thought would be fun to answer, because I see one for you, Dolly, but before I get to that one, here's one from Scott Rosen, which intrigues me. I don't have the ability to pull it up, but I can read it. This is from Scott Rosen, who asks, any thoughts on trauma as a gateway into paranormal activity? I like this question, Scott. I recognized this early on when I started reading about multiple personalities. These are children, of course, who go through intense child abuse that caused them to dissociate and break into what we call multiple personalities. They now call it dissociative identity disorder. Like Sybil is probably the most famous case. Trudy Chase is another. But almost all of them are unbelievably good artists, and almost all of them have one personality that is super psychic, almost without exception, and really good at it. I mean, there was one lady, Kit Castle, who could do telekinesis, call objects. One guy asked her, oh, I forgot to bring my folder from home. She reached under the table and pulled it out. She was able to, I don't know how she did it, bilocate, I guess. But my point is, it was dissociation, trauma, that wakened up their psychic ability. And this is absolutely true for some people who have head trauma, or some people who might have a near-death experience. When the near-death literature started to come out, I'm like, gosh, my research shows that dissociation wakes up psychic abilities. And there's nothing more dissociative than a near-death experience, where you actually leave your body and go to the other side. But there weren't any cases of, showing that near-death experiencers developed any psychic ability until there were. And it started coming out in a big time that almost all near-death experiencers start having a whole bunch of paranormal activity. Also true for UFO contact experiencers, which isn't so much trauma, I don't think, but associating with beings who have this ability of telepathy and levitation and all of that. But it is absolutely a gateway trauma. It doesn't have to be that way, though. You can do it through simple meditation. This is why people have precognitive dreams, because sleep is a form of dissociation. This is what mediumship is. This is, how the Ouija board works. The key is dissociation, is how paranormal abilities can be easily accessed. So yeah, trauma is a gateway, but it's not necessary. That was kind of long-winded, but
that's all right. Thanks for helping, Preston.
But yeah, I saw another one here. I'll see if I can find it. That was aimed to you. Oh, here it is. This is from Luke Shanahan. Hi, Luke. He's got the UFO Files Facebook group. Check it out. It's a good one. And this question is for you, Dolly. It says, question for Dolly. Do you think the movie Contact was accurate with how they perceived the Stargate to work?
Oh, that's an interesting question. The idea for it was there. The process was not. But it was an interesting way to present it to everybody, because you're falling through to something, but you're going through an energy field. And they tried to show what that might be. That was an interesting conceptual way of explaining it, but that's not exactly how it works. But it was cool. I was mesmerized by this movie because it is all about contact, consensus, being with one another, understanding one another, and understanding that it is us, we, who need to be making the phone calls. And we have a long way to go with that. We need to take step, instead of building things that we're not ready to use yet and weaponizing it at the same time. We need to work on ourselves first, way before we start employing all this other stuff that they're coming up with.
It's kind of like a light gate, though, right?
Kind of, yeah. Only they're up, they're electromagnetically off the planet when they do it, up in the air. And the gate is a psychic opening of dimensional space, aided by a being who can amp it electrically. Okay, and it's interesting how that all works. There's a few steps for that to occur.
I loved that movie, but it kind of, boy, Jodie Foster was so good in it. When they didn't believe her and she's getting all teary.
I was impressed.
I was a little disappointed at the end sequence where she's seeing her father. I'm like, because that's
sometimes ET shows you through your own perspective how to handle what you're looking at, and that's how they were showing it because that's what they understood at the time. There's a lot more to this.
Well, I do have actual cases where people say, they look like my mom or my older brother, or usually it's someone that they look up to as a sort of an authority figure,
right?
And I started to see a parallel there with the movie Contact.
Yeah.
One thing is kind of bothers me is I keep hearing that we need as a whole, the consciousness to be raising to achieve this disclosure we're looking for. But we're going to be waiting for the military and government to catch up and get to that consciousness too. We're not going to get there.
Okay, well, I won't worry about what the military is doing because they're weaponizing everything and they only want to do what they want to do it from that perspective. Okay. And it's unconscionable in my estimation, and I wouldn't even think about it. Okay. What you have to understand is that, how do I put this logically for you to get it? We are on the precipice of fully understanding things. And there's knowledge out there that is attainable for us. And there's going to be nobody telling you this. It's you that's going to figure it out. Each person individually, all of us. You have the ability to send your mind, your consciousness, into full communion with all knowledge at one time. Okay? E.T. doesn't call God God. E.T. calls the idea of God the all mind. And that's because every living thing is connected by this consciousness, God, all mind. And it's in everything. It created us. It gave us autonomy. It is right there where you can make contact with it and learn from it and understand from it. And ET has been trying to get you to go to that space. And a lot of people say, I had an epiphany, I had a download. You bet you did. A lot of people want to blame ET for those downloads. No, if you're praying and you're asking for help, consciousness will give it to you. Everything you need to know is right there. You just need to learn how to tap into it. Now I want to bring something up because people use this terminology so wrong, and it's got to stop. Frequency. I want you all to understand what that is. Frequency is a byproduct of something happening, a sound or a thought wave that creates a frequency sound that you can hear psychically or physically. Psychic means you're going to hear all of it. Your brain is operating on your frequency alone. Your brain has got alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta. When they put EEGs on you and they're watching your brain waves, that's the frequency patterns of your brain. No two brains are alike. It's like thumbprints. Everybody has their own specific frequency. Okay? You cannot raise your frequency. No. You can't lower your frequency. You are who you are. It is what it is. Everything has its own frequency. The earth makes sounds because we're all living on it, and it's grinding around, and it's physical, and it's making a sound, and you're picking up the Schumann resonance. That's a frequency that the earth is making because it's physically here and doing stuff. We can hear one another in frequency, whether you realize it or not. All human beings hear each other psychically on frequency with one another because we're all able to pick that up. What you're going to learn how to do is recognize that, okay, for you to hear it, you have to shut up and let your physical mind slow down its frequency or turn the volume down on what it's thinking to let your consciousness, your true frequency of who you really are, get through and employ your transmitter receiver in your head, which is your pineal gland, to communicate with your physical mind. Physical mind's not going to shut up. It's people go to sleep and say, I can't sleep, but my mind won't shut up. You have to learn to turn that off. You have to learn to shut up and listen for the sound. You can't turn the volume up on frequency until you do that. You have to eliminate all the stuff. You know, when you're on board an aircraft or whatever, you know, you pick up a specific frequency. And if there are other things beaming at that frequency, other jammers or whatever, it's going to go, and you can't hear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't up the frequency. You can either turn the volume up or jam back to push that away so that you can pull in the clear signal. And that's the word you should be using. I have a frequency. I need to learn how to turn the volume up and the spectrum of the signal that I can receive to hear what my psychic abilities are going to talk to me about. If one more person says in my presence, and I'm not joking around about this, stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, go ahead.
Some people are stuck on transmitting maybe and they can't receive, right? You know?
You're transmitting whether you like it or not, but you have to shut up so you can hear it. Okay? Your physical mind cannot shut up. You have to learn how to tell it to be quiet. Okay? That's why meditation is so important, because it teaches you to go quiet. It teaches you to see the blank chalkboard, to see nothing, hear nothing, be nothing. And then boop, all of a sudden everything's coming in at you. You go, wow. What am I hearing and seeing now? It's not your mind doing it. It's consciousness. You're getting in. So you have to go within your own mind and shut it up so that you can hear what's outside, so you can go outside to get at it and hear it. The volume up or down, take your pick. If you're constantly being inundated by hate and fear and all this other kind of stupid stuff, anger over what's going on in your life and everybody else's lives, and you're not going to use your abilities properly. You have to learn to stop the signal from all of that so that you can hear from your own ability.
Yeah. Well, here's another question. This is a good one from Redbird. Do the aliens like or have music?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a case I know of in, gosh, I think it was Sweden, thereabouts, where a lady kept hearing music, really cool, unusual, almost classical music. She's like, where is that coming from? Turned out to be this UFO that was coming closer and closer and closer. It revealed this big window, and there was these human-looking ETs. Came down. They were trying to pick her up. She panicked and ran home. I think her son saw it as it moved off. But that was just one case. I know a couple of other. There was a case in Florida like that where a lady asked them to play music and they did. But Dolly, you've had experiences with this directly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we all know that music is a language. Okay, you have to admit that to yourself. Music is a language, and it expresses a myriad of things. It's a mathematical equation. It's emotional. It's precog. It's all of it. Music is everything. ET knows this. They evolved into it. They know it. One of the reasons that they tried to assign musical notation to our DNA strands was they were trying to figure out how to decode it, and they figured it was going to be through music to do that. I find that very interesting that they did that. Not quite. They didn't quite make it to what you're transmitting to understand it, but music is the first transmitted sound of your existence, period. Everything is music. Everything. You know, you hear people talking about the angels in heaven singing. La. Yep. Music is the basis of all language, all knowledge, everything. We learn how to make records and we record sounds, right? Music, whatever, talking. Just talking is music. Did you not know that? We intonate. When you're doing a mantra and the Om, certain levels of signal or, you know, volume or frequency purport certain messages to each other. It's a language. And so some songs are inherently, you know, if you got a song playing and it's all minor chords and stuff like that, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel very melancholy, you're going to feel intense, or you're going to feel like something's coming. It's very mystical, blah, 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 blah. And then if you hear somebody playing in major chords, you're going to get happy. You're going to feel ecstatic. You're going to feel elevated. Okay. And then you blend that all together with the bass and all that other stuff. That is good. Now, at the same time, if we use words or ideas, I'm not going to say words, if we use ideas that purport hate, or words that purport fear, or words that purport things that will drive you into wrong thinking, you're going to be in trouble. We live in a society that does that. We're constantly using sound to attack one another. Some people have learned to, what's the word? Ferret it out, put a filter on it. You can talk to me all day long. You can call me any name in the book. You're not going to bother me. What I do is I hear only the important things that you're saying. I give you enough room to get it off your chest. And I hear it properly as it's coming in. I filter the hate and all that stuff, and I hear what's really about. If you want to understand somebody and they're angry or they're trying to purport something to you and it's coming at you that way, until you learn how to rise above that and filter through it and understand what they're saying to you, you're not going to hear them at all. And you will turn them off. And that's the last possible thing that we should be doing to one another. We need to learn how to hear one another, and you cannot judge any voice whatsoever. You must listen to them, whether they're full of hate or not, because until they're recognized, until what's in their heart and their mind and their soul and their consciousness is coming through to you, you are not giving them their 2 minutes. You're not allowing them to give you the truth. We have a ton of people who are hating each other, and they all are saying the same damn thing. It's because they're not listening to one another. They're not filtering the stupid stuff and letting the truth come through.
Well, going back to music,
yeah.
What I find super interesting is, the power that music has, not only to unite people who are all, at a concert and swaying together and feeling the love,
yeah,
but there are cases like people who have, a stuttering problem or perhaps Tourette's.
Yeah,
they're singing or dancing. They're relieved of that temporarily. Some are, to an amazing degree. They're not stuttering when they're singing. They're not suffering the tics and stuff. And in fact, they now found that, playing, I think, harp music in hospital rooms speeds up a person's healing.
Right.
So there's all kinds of real power to music. And I think that's one of the reasons ETs are able to do it. And it's interesting that some people will actually describe the sound of a UFO as musical.
Yeah.
Like a guitar string that's thrumming at a constant rate.
Yeah, sound healing is very important for everybody. And it's one of the things to use sound and light to heal us and to teach us and to communicate to us. It's amazing.
All right. Well, here's a question from Polly. Hi, Polly. Hope you're doing well. She's asking about implants. Could implants be human family organizers, according to your implant, more than individual tracking devices? I don't think they're actually used for tracking. I think it's much more along the lines of healing. This is what I found from people I've interviewed who asked the ETs about implants. And it's generally to monitor your vital signs, boost your immune system, check for levels of pollution, this sort of thing. But also, in some cases, facilitates communication. I have heard that. But yeah, Dolly could probably speak with actually more authority than personal experience.
My body is not a tracker. It's monitoring me physically. It knows what my body's doing, when I need help, whatever, and it communicates that to them. That's because I am part of a mission that they're on, okay? And so I'm part of that group. If you were in the military, you would wear a wristband, or you'd have a helmet with a transmitter in it that can actually do your vitals and everything. Like, they know if you're alive or dead. Did you know that? This is modern technology that they back engineered. I also have technology like in my hand that I energize myself to create a field, an energy field, psychically, to energize my, it's a key. It's called the key, okay? And it's a field that I can throw my consciousness into. I forward my consciousness into it, and Talat is consciously there, and we are one entity together while we fly that craft. Talat can fly without me. He doesn't necessarily need me, but the things that we do together are important, and my ability as a person working with them and learning how to adapt and evolve with them is important for me to learn how to do that. That's what I wanted from them, as well as they were offering for me. They'd offer this stuff to everybody, but you have to be on par or on board or ready to receive that kind of learning from them. And that was another reason for them to get you to start using your abilities. They want you to join. They want you to make the call. They want you ready to elevate yourself and learn and wisen up to this stuff. Now, I have another implant that's right up in my sinus. It's right here. Okay. And it moves around. It can move away.
You can do that.
I feel it vibrating every now and then. And that one is almost like a telephone call to me. I feel if I'm being signaled by one of them, that's where I feel it in that thing. It'll vibrate. And I know that somebody's trying to contact me other than Talata or Mama. Because them I'm psychically linked to. I can't break that link. It's permanent. Okay. I developed it. It's there. I got them forever. But like if Micha, I have a friend named Micha, and she's in the Delphi system, I'll feel it niggle and I'll like, okay, all right. And I will remote into the signal and go with it to meet up with her psychically to have a conversation. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it takes my total attention, because I really have to pay attention to what I'm doing with that.
I think it's a rare contactee who doesn't have implant.
You all got them. If you're a contactee, there's at least one.
At least.
People used to have them behind their ears, but people started figuring it out and they started removing them. Willie had one in his wrist. I think it's still there, right?
I don't know. I know he's got proof of implants.
Yeah, they tried to take it out and the doctor went in and it literally went away. It traveled and he wouldn't let him take it out at that point. It did not want to be removed from his body and he decided to leave it in his wrist. I'm pretty sure of that.
Well, here's a question which is related to this. This is from Patsy Foister. Hi, Patsy. She's asking, Dolly or Preston, what are the buzzing tones that we hear? My husband and I can hear it change at the same time. Now, I think this can be a couple of different things. This could be, well, of course, people have tinnitus, but this can be a ship flying over, making a buzzing noise, and you might not even see it. But implants, if I'm not incorrect, because certainly a lot of contactees talk about this, will suddenly hear a beeping tone or a buzzing.
Yep.
And that's when they're contacting you. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah. You also have to understand that when you're living in a city and there's a lot of Wi-Fi around you and everything, nowadays people can pick up that too, and you hear it as a sound, because your skull is really good at amplifying, sound waves and stuff like that. And if you're picking up a signal and it's in your cochlea and it's like, you'll pick it up. Microwave transmissions is one of them. When I was working for the Army and I was in a data center, I walked in the door the very first time and it was a battle lab and my brain backflipped. And they're looking at me like, what is your problem? And I said, can you not hear that? He said, what are you talking about? I said, I hear that. And he said, what do you hear? And I told him, and they looked at me and they said, have you got really good hearing? And I said, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you can't hear that because it was deafening me. And I walked out the door. They shut the door. And it was gone because it's, Faradayed all around this building. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't go in there anymore. I can't do this. Everybody stopped what they were doing. And I walked in and I didn't hear a thing. The minute they started transmitting on that stuff, I heard it. And I said, well, there we go. I can't mess with it anymore.
Kind of sounds like the Taos hum, or the hum that people are talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've talked to one guy. He was a contactee for sure. And he said whenever he would watch something super emotional would happen to him. This is what exactly another lady said. Whenever she felt really strong emotion, her implant would go off.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, the one on my nose will do that. Sometimes, or the one on my thigh. The one on my thigh, if I get really upset, it vibrates. It's like, what are you doing?
I guess they're monitoring our emotional state as well as our physical.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's an important, if I may, should I just continue with the questions? Because this is an important one, I think, because there's a lot of interest in this right now. This is from Scott Rosen. Any thoughts on ayahuasca? People are doing ayahuasca and DMT and describing all these really amazing experiences. And these are certainly chemicals, and solutions, whatever you want to call them, hallucinogenics. that have been around for a very long time and are used in some indigenous cultures for vision quests and this type of things. But I have to tell you, this is my opinion. I don't know that this is a good avenue to initiate genuine contact. I think what's happening is you're exploring your own inner world, and definitely can have some real revelations with that. But I don't know that they're having genuine, because people are saying, oh, I met mantids and all of this. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't, this is my opinion.
I would like to put a challenge out there for y'all. Those of you that are going to do this, okay, you make the decision to do it. Please make sure that you have at least 4 people with you and they're all going to have a job. If you're in contact with anything, or you're being, or you think it's amping your psychic ability or whatever, you need 2 people to help verify this is true or not. And they need to give you the test, the psychic test. They need to give you the cards, the numbers, and the colors. All right. And they need to keep a score. You need to do it before you take the ayahuasca, and then after, during, and then again after, and see how well you do. It will be eye-opening for you, because you're not going to become more psychic. You're going to become hysterical in your own mind about what you think is happening to you, and it is not. And that's the kicker. That's the relief, or the understanding that you're not going out, you're locked in. A chemical reaction in your brain is your physical brain. It is not the transmitter. They can put you on an EEG while you're doing ayahuasca, and you don't transmit more, you transmit less. Your brain starts to go to sleep and do weird things. You look like you're on an LSD trip, which we all know what that does to you. It's toxic for your brain, and it causes brain damage. So does ayahuasca. And it keeps you from using your own equipment properly. So that's why I say don't do it. But if you are going to do it, you need to prove it to yourself one way or another. You need to ask yourself, is it really worth this? One way or the other. Know all that is knowable before you try something. So make sure that somebody is there to help you through it, understand what's going on through it, and prove to yourself whether it's real or not.
Yeah, I've never done it, so it's hard for me to speak on it.
Yeah.
But just from what I've researched about hallucinogenics, yeah, I think for some people, they can have a really wonderful experience. But I would caution against, saying that this is objectively real until we know.
Yeah, there's enough people having experiences without having to induce through psychedelics.
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, if you want to induce an out-of-body experience, you can go to the Monroe Institute and you can play the tones, which do work, I think. I tried them for a second, but it felt like it was forcing the experience. And I'm not even sure you need to do that. It's good to get the feeling and get a taste of it. But ultimately, I think this is something that is much more healthy to unfold naturally and do it through just simple meditation. Because you can have all of these wild experiences through meditation.
Yeah.
From contacting ETs to out-of-body experiences to precognition, and it really develop in a way that is, I think, more healthy. But for people who want to do it, hey, go for it.
It works. Just make sure you're not creating a false memory, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that would be my concern. All right. Well, here's another question from Scott. Scott's got the questions tonight. Scott Rosen. Any thoughts on human-alien hybrids? The human hybrid program.
Okay, well, first of all, there's no program, quote unquote, there's no program. We are related to ET. They are an ethnicity of humanity, like we are, and we can breed back and forth with one another. And we have, because of the situation we're in right now, they came and they're pulling DNA, our DNA, up and off this planet by interbreeding with us again, which can happen. They come and have babies with us, and then our children go back with them, and our DNA is taken and expressed out of this place because bad things are about to happen. Okay, that's all this is. We have, if you're old like I am, you remember in the 60s when men started going sterile, like baby rate went, and they realized that men were wearing tighty whities and it was impeding, stuff. And they said, you need to put the boxer shorts back on like they were in World War II and before, or the kilts, because you're sterilizing yourselves. And it turned around. Well, ET has a similar issue. If they're working interdimensionally a lot and stuff like that, they have that sort of damage coming to them as well. Those that work doing this, because there are plenty of them on different planets and stuff, and they're fine. It's the ones that are doing the work. And so interbreeding with us again sort of helped them too. We were helping each other. It is not a program. You're not singled out for this. You're not special. You're just like them. You're humanoid. We're an ethnicity. It's not like a donkey and a horse. I mean, a horse and a mule, or a donkey, or, you know, another kind of animal that'll produce an unbreedable hybrid. That's what that is. Hybrids are unbreedable. You know that, right? It's just natural integration of genetics that are similar, and we are similar. They're the same race as us. And just saying, humanity is human. Homo sapiens sapien. Every last person on this planet is Homo sapiens sapien. We're related. As a matter of fact, you have Anunnaki blood in you. We go all the way back to that. And they are Homo sapiens sapien. There are a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of misinformation about how we came to be. Trust me, you related to them. We're their children. They brought us here. Deal with it. Okay.
Yeah.
I summed it up pretty good, Dolly.
So many contactees get that message too. We are you, you are us, we are one.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was interviewing Dolly and she used that same phrase. And I actually laughed out loud because that same exact phrasing comes up, which is really interesting to me. All right, I love this question from Bob Thorson. Hi, Bob. Hope you're doing well. Dolly, what does the skin of the hull of a living craft look like up close? I've heard some descriptions of this that are so amazing.
Okay, well, I've had time to like really look at it, okay? And touch it and smell it, and I even licked it once to my demise.
Really?
Yeah. When you look at it, have you ever had the opportunity to touch something like a porpoise or a what is another animal that comes close to this?
Manta ray.
Manta ray, something like that, with that kind of thick, you know, fleshy skin that's rubbery, kind of, not quite rubbery, but it's sort of like that. But what you get when you really look at it is that you get really close to it and you start to see arrays in it, light arrays. You start to see, like, you know, when you see the TV and it's, you know, it's not showing you signal of an actual picture, you see the dots, and you get real close and you start to see the dots. Oh my God, it's all in there. You can see it, all the dots. And the craft are capable of, like cuttlefish, arraying in any light to make you think it looks like this, that, or the other. And it can transform, or it can get bigger, stretch out, get smaller. It moves itself. It's the daggonest thing you ever saw in your whole entire life. I've been in a room where there was nothing, and then suddenly the floor rose up and made a table. It's the same thing, the same color, but now it's a table. And it's sitting there, and you're looking at it, and you go, "Can I go touch that?" And it feels cold and metally. Yeah, sort of, kind of, but it's still that, you know, stuff. I've never had anybody tell me they've been on board on the table and say it hurts my back because it's just so damn hard. No, it's not.
No, it flexes with you. It forms into your body. Right.
But you see the arrays in it, and that's because it is a light transformed piece of material that has become alive. They've given it like us, you know, we have cells that become skin, right? It was given cells that become that. And the arrays in it are the intelligence that drove the DNA that they created for it. It's not sentient.
What is it then? Is it metal? Is it?
It has the composites of many things, many different types of components, and I'm not going to give it to you because if I did, alter things here, and I'm not going there. They're already working on it, okay? But it is, it's interesting. It's capable of flexing, and it becomes alive itself. You know, like it's like okay, this is going to be gross. I'm so sorry. If you get ill easily, please stop listening to me for 5 minutes.
Sorry, Coley would say this is uncensored. Go for it.
Okay. A cadaver. You know, when you're fresh after you die, your muscles are still doing things. You're still, the electricity in your body is still moving the muscles around. You can use an electrode and hit it and it'll go whoop, and it'll da-da-da-da-da. But there's no mental force driving that. You're stimulating it to do that. That muscle was built genetically built, or it's alive, because it was created that way to do that. Your body is not who you are. It is just something that's DNA'd up to take the electricity of who you are, the energy of who you are, and you anatomically bring it to life. And it's still going. But this is still capable of movement and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That craft is made that way. It's ready for the consciousness to come into it. But it's so advanced that you look at it and you go, wow. How did they born?
That
It
makes
was
sense.
created.
I will say that, I've talked to people and read a lot of accounts of people who've touched the UFOs, and one guy said it almost was like he couldn't touch it. It was so smooth. Another guy said, it's smoother than glass. And he talked a long time trying to get a description. He's like, I just can't tell you. It was so amazing.
Okay, I'm going to say something. I want you to tell me if it's true, because I've never asked you this. I've never talked to you about it before, but I'm going to state it now because I want to see your reaction. Both of you research, so let's see how this goes. From time to time when I'm on board and I just want to break, till I know this is going to happen, I'll be walking down a hall, or I'll be on, board. I'm not sitting in a seat. I'm somewhere else. And there's always a bench for me to sit on, but sometimes I'll just lean into the wall and the wall will grab me. And I will tell Talata, I have an ache here, there, and everywhere. And all of a sudden, in the contact with him in the wall, he will charge me, energize me, do stuff, give me vibrations, heat, cold, whatever I need. He will show up for that for me. And I'm just sinking into the wall. And I've had people walk by me who are on board or see me do it while we're all on board waiting for them to do what they're going to do when we're doing contacts, and just go, what is she doing? And every now and then Talata will do weird, strange stuff. He will purr like a cat. One lady reacted to it like, is there a cat in here? And I said, well, kind of, sort of. And she said, I can hear it. I can hear it. I said, where do you think it is? And she said, is it with you? And I said, kind of, sort of. And I said, do you want the cat? And she said, yes. I said, lean back. And he purred for her in her ear. And she just was like, oh, and calmed her down.
Another lady asked about that. Did the ship's purr? Yeah. One guy, I just looked into a case. He went to sit down and it caught him. He looked down and there was really nothing even there.
Yeah.
You could see. But one guy, he came upon a UFO out in the desert that the ETs had vacated. He walked inside. He said the interior walls felt like dolphin skin, just like you were saying. He said he could actually impress it a little bit.
And you put your finger in it and old dentation will go in, And if you think about it when you do it, if you're ever in a situation like that and you're there, say, I'm going to pull my finger in and I want a pretty flower underneath it. And it'll show up.
Now, I just want to back up a second, and maybe we can title this whole episode, I Licked a UFO. You licked a UFO?
That's the first one.
What happened? I've not. You said it.
You don't want to engage that one. Come on, Dolly.
I was little when I did it. I didn't know better. I used to eat spiders. Did you know that? I was freaked out. I was on board and I was in my little beddy by a cubby, and I had a cubby hole and everything. And I'm looking at the wall and I'm really looking at it. Okay. And I leaned over because I felt it and it felt really good and it smelled really good. And I thought, I wonder what it tastes like. And I went, oh, and I went, nope, nope. And I got this message in my head, stop licking me. And I went, okay. And then the message came to me afterwards is you can actually electrocute yourself doing that. Don't do it. Do not put water between me and you at all. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, but it was kind of what's the taste? It was a weird taste. Wasn't metallic at all. So if you're going there, don't. It tasted like a very bad banana, to be honest with you. Like a banana going bad. Have you ever smelled the banana? Can you imagine that smell on your tongue? That's what I got from it. It was weird. And I understood after that it has a high concentration of potassium, zinc oxide, and other stuff that give you that banana aroma and taste.
You heard it here first. Don't lick a UFO.
Yeah. Well, those things she mentioned, those minerals, though, you can see why those would charge her when she leaned up against the craft.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's alive. When it's fully functioning, you can get in a lot of trouble from it. That's right. Yep. Okay.
Well, I hope your experience and what you shared with us will give some people some ease. They might have seen the movie Nope, or the ship that's a living ship.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
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 It was a little fear-based, but
That's what I mean. I
Yeah.
hope they give it a little ease.
Yeah, be easy about it. This craft isn't going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. You know,
It's not like putting any tentacles in you and like grabbing you and like becoming one with it. It's a
we are loved.
consciousness.
We are
Yeah.
loved. We are loved. They care about every inch of us, and they would never, ever harm you. The only people who do that are here, and that's what you got to watch out for. You know,
Yeah.
period.
well, here's a question which I never even really thought about. This is from Bob Thorson. Good question, Bob. What kind of mechanism is used to insert an implant without surgery?
Oh, I wish I could tell you that. When I got my hand implant, they knocked me out for that. Okay. They just picked me up and I was put to sleep because I have an actual scar where they went in to get it into my body. There's no dimensionally putting it in you. They had to open me up and put it in. It was almost 100% healed, and it healed in less than 12 hours after that. And but I knew it had happened when it happened. I was like, why did my hand feel funny? You know, it's like, whoa. So I don't know. I've never deigned to watch that or be involved in that. I'm more interested in what I was doing. But I know that they have the ability to excise anything on you and put things in you or take things out of you without you realizing they've done it, and that you heal right away. There's no downtime from it. They can fix you. So
I have an idea. Somebody's touched on it before. It was David Adair. What was it? Skylabs or Starlabs? Space station he had. He sent up several doctors, and one of them got injured. And it was like a matter of 3 hours, and he was healed. I mean, he pushed off on the side of the wall, and he hit his arm on a rack, and it like busted his arm open. They had to bandage him up, and they're going to scrub the mission, but he was healed in 3 hours.
yeah,
They learned that the immune system was boosted while you're outside the atmosphere.
it's all connected. Well, an idiot shot at us one night, and it ricocheted onto him and hit him in the thigh. Well, they can't leave you like that, you know? Oh my God. What would that cause? So we got him, we pulled him up, and they took him immediately to be fixed. But I was flying and I could not follow and watch that. But I know that it took less than 2 hours, and he came back 100% healed. And
Is there any more questions in the chat, Preston? I can't see the chat from what I'm using here, but I got to get going here shortly. But
All right. Well, here's
is Coley still there in the background?
I don't know. I don't see her.
Coley.
But here's a question which should be pretty quick, and it's from Rusty Grunert. Do you ever see disabled people on the ships?
yeah, I do actually. If we pick people up, if you have a disabled can be anything like deaf, blind, crippled, wheelchair bound, arthritis, diabetes, anything. Yes, we do. And they are worked with. There are some things that they will not completely take care of for you because you're here to learn lessons, and these lessons teach you things that you need to know. And you can call it karma if you'd like, but you chose this life for that reason, and you're supposed to get something out of it. And so they'll keep you in stasis with it. In other words, they'll give you a brief reprieve from it while you're on board. Okay. There's less gravity on board when you're on craft. So people who have a hard time walking around will tell me, I feel really good. I mean, I feel like I can move around and do anything. And that's because there's less gravity impeding you. I've had people tell me my blood sugar is just perfect, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand that one. I got that issue too. It is amazing what they can do for you while you're with them, but they will not 100% cure you. Every now and then they will, but it's not something you were supposed to learn. It's something that they recognize that really needs to be taken away from you.
People have asked me, why didn't you cure this or that? And they said, well, you chose this illness or this condition or this injury to learn something from it. They'll use that word karmic. That's come up in a number of cases, which I thought is interesting because I kind of think of karma as a human term. Apparently, no, universal.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have time for another question?
Sure. Yeah, we could have 5 more minutes.
All right. I'll squeeze this one in from JTFG89. In Dolly's opinion and experience, does your contact believe in God, or have they ever explained what you think God is?
Yes, and they call God the All Mind, and it is the intelligent being, or if you want to call it a being, because it indwells everything. It's everything that we are part of it. We're all part of God, the All Mind. And yes, they revere it, they honor it, they work with it, and they have evolved with it. So yeah, they believe All Mind.
I've heard of a number of cases where that comes up. Just recently, in my latest YouTube video, 2 guys from Poland were taken on board together, and one of them asked about God, and they said yes. Walter Rizzi from Italy asked, "What is God?" And they said, "It's you, it's me, it's everything around us."
Yes.
Usually these are the kinds of responses people will get from the ETs.
Right. You're part of it. You were given autonomy so that you learn alongside at your own rate, so that you can evolve up to the All Mind. What happens to you when you make it that far, I have no bloody idea. I'm down here. Okay. But yeah, you can evolve up into that. And it's interesting to think about, Wow.
I'm going to have to go back and definitely listen to this again, and some of the things that you touched on, I think I'll be able to benefit from it. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule for coming up and being here. I'm sorry Coley fell off the panel with us, but that's okay. It's not my first time doing it. Just the first time with the video.
It was fun.
Thank everybody in the chat, you guys over on all these apps, X, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. I don't know the list. She's got the list for all that for me. She's the one that's the mastermind behind this. That's the Next Radio and Journey into the Unknown. And you don't have the music to take you out with tonight. I'm not going to sing you a song because I got to keep my day job.
Everybody say happy birthday, Coley, because her birthday was the 7th.
Happy birthday,
Coley. We love you.
Many more.
Yes.
Thank you guys. You have a great night.
Sure will. Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.